Hello, everyone. Sorry, I got distracted on the countdown and I forgot to put us backstage. But welcome to this week's episode of Cloud Foundry Weekly. Yeah, as you can see, Nikki is not here this week. He's actually on site at a customer currently, so he couldn't make the show time today. But Tim has graciously agreed to come back on the show and kind of be a co-host and kind of work through our topic this week. And this week we're actually going to be installing the GenAI for Tanzu platform for Cloud Foundry Tile live. I've personally been getting a lot of questions internally and from customers, about picking up the beta and kind of kicking the tires on this, as this tile still in public beta. So I figured it might be just a good opportunity to one kind of just kind of go through this process that I'm doing on a weekly basis with folks, kind of in a recorded format, live format. If anyone's out there and wants to ask comments, questions, we can take those live as well too. So that's kind of the thought for today. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a different show, and I will try to narrate, and we'll try to narrate as best we can for the folks on the podcast. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of video demo today, and we can only say so many words. So if you like the podcast and like this episode, we'd definitely recommend checking out the live stream after the fact. And yes, live stream. What could go wrong? Well, it should be fine. It should be fine. Yeah. So yeah, cool.
We're amongst friends here, right?
Yeah. And in like classic baking show style, if it goes catastrophically wrong, I've already cooked foundations, so to speak. So we can always just pull a fresh one out of the oven. All right. Okay.
You can blame me. I'm the new guy, so no problems.
Yeah. All right. So now let's see if I remember how to share my screen on StreamYard, because that's always fun. Let's see here. Present. Share screen. Ooh. Sharing tips. Sorry, I'm narrating my StreamYard instructions to everyone. We'll share. I think this is gonna go. All right, I'll get Inception away. Okay, let's see. I should probably make this full screen and maybe like blow this up a little bit, so we can see. Okay. All right. So I guess step one is how do you get the tile, right? So we're at the Broadcom support portal, and this is a relatively new change still. So if you just kind of calling out that TanzuNet, PivNet migrated to into this new support portal via Broadcom. So the software bits are here. I'm already logged in. I'm on my my enterprise Broadcom account. I also have like a non-Broadcom account too to do some testing with as well. But we're there. And then I guess one of the key note is when you log into the support portal, you want to make sure you're under the Tanzu, I guess, division or drop down, whatever you would call this in the wizard. But then when we can go over here, we can go to My Downloads, and then that will bring up all the Tanzu download bits. If you're looking for like vSphere or vCenter or VCF stuff, go under the VMware Cloud Foundation tab as well. So, but I guess we could just do a quick search for GenAI or Gen fast on the fly there, and we can get there. GenAI on Tanzu platform for Cloud Foundry. We'll go here, and we can click in through here, and then here we go. This is where we'll click on the 030 release, and and we can go ahead and just, I'm not going to actually download it again because I already have it. And I'm trying to save some space on my hard drive. But you just go click this little button here on the side, and it's like a little cloud with the arrow, and they'll start the download process. Today, we're actually going to be installing 0.40, so it's not even out yet. I guess this is also a sneak peek, but the team has told me it should be live on Broadcom support portal sometime soon. So maybe later today, maybe later tomorrow, who knows? But we have a new release here. They're just getting through the publishing process on the portal. So that's that. And if you haven't downloaded that before, a version of the software before, you'll want to go ahead and, you'll probably see it'll pop up that says like accept EULA or whatever. You'll have to click that before you can click the download button. But that's, kind of in a short, quick demo of the Broadcom support portal of how do you manually download software from here. Yeah, so
it's a great place to start for sure. Definitely,
yes.
Navigating folks through a new sort of interface. But
yeah,
stuff's there too, so that's great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have, just pretend they've already downloaded this. It's in, a folder, whatever, just normal software download stuff. And we can go over here. Let's see. I have many foundations, many tabs. No, that's not the one I want. So let me open up. All right, here we go. Let me full screen this here. So your normal process where you would go and import a product from your, folder here. I've already done that here. So I've already uploaded 0.40 on this foundation. I just wanted to save some time because, we're live and I didn't want everyone just watch the bits load. So we're going to plus that over as this new tile installs. All right. So, and if you've seen the tiles, this is your normal flow here. And there's nothing too crazy about this. But we'll go ahead and, we'll have to do some configuration on this as it's loaded fresh into the system. Again, service networks. I only have one network in my home lab. We're going to select that. But, this is a normal configuration. Pick the appropriate network that you have. And now we have multiple tabs here. And some of these are relatively new as well, even previous versions of some of my demos and things. So like we're there's a lot of work going into the tile at a pretty rapid pace. So that's great to see. But we'll probably want to start out with the infrastructure config tab, I guess, panel, pane, whatever form. I don't know. So that's a good question. I'm not sure what the proper name for that is. But the infrastructure config tab will bring us over here, and we'll see different VM types for different cloud providers, right? We're going to be working in vSphere today, but if you're in the public cloud hyperscalers, you can also select that down as well. So I know some folks working in AWS land have added some additional types to get larger GPUs. Tim, I think you've actually deployed in GCP before. Anything special you want to call out for GCP?
Yeah, I think that some of the settings look a little bit different. So in GCP, it was similar types of sets, but underlying it was the same sort of Tesla G4 hardware, but definitely looked similar and easy to select for me. But this is much cleaner in terms of adding your different types of VMs directly through this page. It was a little bit less intuitive last time, so I think this is a good improvement.
Yeah. And I think if you've seen previous versions, it kind of just had like a single drop-down list, and this has been split out so that one, you can kind of customize the machine types. And like, CPU and disk and things too, we'll see in vSphere. Obviously, you can't quite tweak those in the cloud providers because they kind of have those locked down. But yeah, you can, each cloud provider is a little bit different, especially how they handle GPUs. Sometimes you may even have some trouble, even, if you're going to go for like an A100 or something or some beefy GPU, you might have some scheduling issues in the cloud providers. The higher end NVIDIA GPUs are very resource constrained across the board, really.
So you can add those are open text fields, right? So you can put anything you feel is necessary for your environment.
So we can add. So let's add some here. So like let's see. this is what we're adding in vSphere. It looks like it's a little bit bigger than a public cloud because there's some more vSphere things to work through. But let's call this 3090, right? And my home lab, I have 3090 Ti's, 3090. So those are consumer grade NVIDIA cards because I can't afford a 100 or an H100. Those are quite expensive. So I'm using what I can use, and I also have some kind of repurposed older enterprise cards too. But the 30 series seems to just kind of be the sweet spot. So we're gonna give it a name. Could really be anything. I could call it, Foo 3090 or whatever name makes sense to me. But this is where it gets interesting too. This is where kind of this if we scroll down here, where it matters in terms of the vSphere land, where if you want to use a vGPU setting, so the virtual vGPU driver from NVIDIA, where you can kind of like slice up an actual GPU within vSphere, you can do that. And you select that and then select the name, the vGPU name that you want to use. And that's kind of dependent on what card you have and things like that. If we have some extra time, I might kind of show that in a different environment. But for this environment, we're going to use PCI pass-through. So we'll just go through here. And I want to go over to vCenter. Let's see. And we'll show you here how to get some of these IDs, because that was a question that came earlier this week. Because, just showing out some folks how to get the data here. All right, so this is my home lab. I got a bunch of hosts. Let's see here. They're HBZ 440, so using some pretty ancient gear here. It's pretty old processors, but it all seems to work out.
Yeah.
The
best lab eBay can buy.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Well, not the best lab, but the best lab I can afford. It was always a side note. It was just supposed to be one host. Now I have 7 and more to install. But anyway, I have a home lab problem.
No, that's a good problem to have.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm lost so I need to find the graphics config. So physical adapters. Let's see here. Hardware. I'm sorry. That took way too long to find. All right. So we want to get some IDs, and that's actually a TI. So where's my... here's the 3090. So I wanted to pick a 3090. So if we click onto here and look under the PCI devices, so these are toggled through pass-through. So that's a first note. If you haven't done that already, you want to make sure that you can find a PCI device, this 3090, and then click toggle pass-through type of thing. But I've already done that, so I don't want to undo that. Kind of requires a host reboot, that first setup. So there's some key info that we need to set up here. So we need this device ID and this vendor ID, right? So we can go ahead and grab the vendor ID. And we want to add a 0x. Let me make sure that's right in this config, 10DE. And make it lowercase. And I'm going to write a guide and things to update some of this documentation. So based on this video, so we can go on from there if you want to refer to this later. And now, so that this vendor ID, if you're talking NVIDIA, it's always going to be this ID. So we're talking NVIDIA cards right now, so this should be a pretty solid safe bet. But this is the device ID that will differ based on your settings. Based on your card.
And this is giving the VM access to that underlying hardware, right? So,
yeah. This is telling what the Bosch CPI to say, hey, go request a pass-through device called, with these IDs, and that's calling the graphics card. Now, obviously, if you use the vGPU stuff, it's a little bit cleaner. You just have to give it a name, and it's I can show you that later, but obviously, I don't in the home lab situation. I got to kind of use some more of the consumer devices and. Actually, we had another person internally reach out and doing this kind of very similar setup with some other, I guess, actually old mining gear, I think, that they wanted to use this for instead. So, just kind of fun tidbit there. So, again, maybe we should have titled this, Learn How to Set This Up in Your Home Lab, too. But we'll grab the device ID. So that's 2204. And then we should just be able to paste that and add a 0.x. So that 0.x is important for passing that info on. we want to add this value is going to be true. So if you have a graphics card that's over 16 gigs of VRAM, this will always be set to true. Otherwise, it won't boot in vSphere. And the 3090 is 24 gig of VRAM. And then, so this value is set to 64. So there's a lot of blogs. If you like Google these words, there's blogs on how to like do the math about how to set it up. But it's like based on the powers of 2, and then you like, basically if you have like a 24 gig card, or that's really going to be, you want to set this value to 64. And this MMIO pass-through mode, you need to, like in your host BIOS, have that set too. So you can, if you have a setting within your the BIOS of the motherboard, essentially you want to make sure that use 64-bit MMIO is set. It could be different names depending on the manufacturer, but that's kind of critical to make sure that PCI pass-through kind of works all the way through on some of these larger end systems. So let's go ahead and save that here. And then see that kind of, as we hit save, that populates, we have a new VM type to use. And also I'm going to go and edit the existing CPU VM type. I'm going to bump this up to 14 from 8. Save. I don't need to do anything else here because we're not doing any GPU stuff with this CPU type. So we'll be using a mixture of CPUs and GPUs. And just a quick call out too, what we've seen with performance wise, and I kind of validated with other testing here. So if we look at Intel Arc, $2690, is that a V4? Yeah, that's there we go. So we look at this processor. Oh, it came up in a different language, but you can see it's 14 cores, physical cores. Yeah. So we really, like, from a performance testing, you really don't want to see the physical cores of what you have on your host. Once you start, once you start going into like the hyper-threading territory, it just doesn't seem to really work out a whole lot. Your performance gains don't really get a whole lot out of there. So that's just a keynote there is try to stay within the bounds of your physical cores on a single CPU in your system.
So these are the, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So these are the options for that will be selectable as the user goes to provision a new VM or worker VM that's going to do the AI processing for them. These are the choices they will have.
That's correct. Yes.
Nice.
All right. So we've updated our CPU config for vSphere and we've added a 3090 type, so we can use some GPUs. Obviously, you could add it. It's a similar process if you wanted to add a new type for AWS. You'd have to go look up whatever instance type it is in the cloud that has the type of GPU that you want to use, type of thing. I know some folks were using A10s out there, some V100s per se. I don't have the instance names memorized, unfortunately. But
which one do you typically pick there, Nick?
So I mean, like the T4 is okay, but like I would probably say like the V100 or higher, maybe out there in AWS land. Stu, has had some pretty good results also with the A10. Some of it is too. It's just some of the budget of what you can get in your region. Once you start going into some of the higher end cards, though, it's even just you maybe want to pick some of the cards that are smaller and not in super demand, because we really don't need some of these huge NVIDIA cards to get started, and it's just you won't have to fight for scheduling type of thing. Not to mention per hour cost on some of those VM types are quite high. So
and I've heard from a lot. It's great to have that CPU option as well. Just if your your performance needs aren't quite as high as a GPU workload, at least.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I'll delete this because I don't need it. All right, so we're done with the VM types infrastructure config for now. If we were using the NVIDIA vGPU stuff, this is where you need to plug in the NVIDIA license address, some client tokens, where to pull your URL, your drivers for, and things like that. But if we have a little time, I'll get into that, but I want to show some of the other steps now. So now we basically tell the tile how to build VMs and what specialized hardware to use. We can kind of get into this model config now, right? So obviously we're talking about models, large language models. These are this kind of config is newer in 0.3 and 0.4, but we can add models, right? So we want to add a model. Let's see here. Okay, I guess first thing will be model providers. So within this release, which is not yet on the Broadcom support folder, which will soon be, we've actually added Ollama support. So you can run things with Ollama. You can run things with VLLM. That's another kind of, these are different inference engines. And like Ollama is the one that you see like pretty much like you can run it on any machine, or you can just like, run it on your laptop or whatever, especially if you have like Apple Silicon and like, you have, the unified memory bus and things like that. Or like, if you just run it on your PC at home. So like, but they've done a pretty good job at optimizing performance for CPU, especially on like really old CPUs. So we've added that in as well. And it's just kind of like another path. VLM is kind of, I would say, more for the high end performance situation. More for like when you're running on higher end GPUs. So like when I do our inference engines, we're gonna use VLM and GPUs, but probably I'll spin up some models, some CPU models with Ollama. Now we also have a provider out here that's called CPU, and that's actually some of our older code out here. It's called it's actually the fast chat provider too, and using the Intel IPEX extension. So that was kind of our first take at CPU support. And it works pretty well on some of the newer Intel Xeons. But we've noticed some of the model compatibility is a little bit, I guess, just say dodgy from time to time. And Ollama just seems to, run better on a more wide swath of CPUs. So that's kind of why we're bringing that in. But there are some embedding models that work, we have demo apps that are still written for fast chat. So we're kind of, swapping some things out. So we have that out here too. I'll probably at least deploy one of all three, let's just say. So we can get into that now. So let's go through a VLM configuration here. I'm actually going to go into, not this one. Sorry, I've got too many foundations.
You got a foundation problem and a home lab problem.
Yeah. I'm filling out my home lab foundations. So let's see. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go into another foundation that's running an old version, or not. It's just the current version on the Broadcom support portal. I keep wanting to say TanzuNet, but it's I'm like, not TanzuNet. It's not TanzuNet anymore. But it's really hard to get rid of that. All right. Okay. Yeah. So this is I'm going to copy some of this because I'm lazy, and I don't want to type it all out. So I'm going to copy all these values, and then I'm going to talk through the values. And then we'll be good. Okay. We don't need that. 3090. Ooh. So this is where that VM type that we built comes in. So we want to add that name that we made there. Tag it in the availability zone that we have defined. I'm going to bump this up to at least 100. Some of these models are quite large. And this is just the disk that gets attached to the worker. So if you're swapping between a bunch of models, you might want to, just watch the size. But let's talk through this here. So the public name, right? So like we're running behind the scenes once we start getting into the brokering and the dev side of this. So like we got our platform engineering hats on right now, right? So this is all, like the developers aren't really seeing this whole flow, but the tile itself will run this this open AI compatible API, which a lot of things do these days, but it's kind of mimicking essentially, chat GPTs or open AI's public endpoint that you can use and write apps and talk to, right? So there's many providers that, resurface that functionality. And we want to advertise public names on that model. And we want to advertise the GPT-3.5 Turbo. That's an actual open AI model, right? But we want to but when we host that, we have some libraries like, our Taylor Swift demo app is like an ancient version of Spring AI, because it was written almost over a year ago now. And in AI land, that's probably like a decade, right? So it's expecting like to talk to GPT-3.5 Turbo and some other things. So like we're kind of doing an alias essentially here with this public name. You know, I guess I could name it Foo, and if my app was trying to call a model called Foo, it would, you know, it would talk to here. But really, then that's going to route to this backend model, which is a derivative of Llama 3. And then we're going to run that on VLLM because, you know, that's pretty much our fastest inference engine. I haven't done a whole lot of testing between VLLM and Ollama on GPU performance-wise, but VLLM seems to be a pretty good situation. And this model, all right, this is actually coming, you know, straight from Hugging Face. So new tab to the right. Go here, and you know, this is getting pulled from Hugging Face. So just to call out there, if you want to switch these models out, like VLLM uses Hugging Face transformer models. So if you look up like VLLM model compatibility, you should kind of get you like a flow of what type of models that you can't support. Obviously, if VLLM hasn't picked up a model yet, it's not going to work correctly. Same thing with Ollama. So sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just, so this is downloading that model locally onto this worker node, depending on what you choose. So
that's correct.
Do you have limitations as to what model you can choose from Hugging Face, or it's whatever suits your needs?
So for one, some models are gated on Hugging Face via either like a EULA or some type of thing. So like you can download those models, but then you have to have a Hugging Face API key. So you can, like, if you make an account, you can get a free account and generate a key or whatever, right? So some models like the Meta Llama, the Meta models, like the base llamas are Llama 3s and Llama 2s, like from Meta, you have to like accept a EULA, right? And some of the other models you have to accept a EULA too. Some of them aren't gated, so that's where that token comes in.
Got it.
And I think eventually too, right? I don't know if this works correctly, or I don't think this has been built yet for VLM. We are gonna, start providing a way for offline model access too, because they're like, hey, I don't want to download this from the internet every time. And some of these models are quite large too, so it's like, if you're kind of churning this or like spinning things up and down, potentially, you might want to host this internally on a file server somewhere. So I believe this. I haven't tried this out with Ollama yet. I think this model URL field will work with Ollama in the 4.0 release. I need to follow up to see if that will work on VLM either, but I don't think it's been built up for VLM yet. So, we're still in beta, we're rapidly iterating.
Yep.
But yeah, so that we're starting to make progress there too. So trying to, tease out these internet connectivity requirements or mitigate in some way or shape or form on the fact of the, the note of the internet here. Let me save this before I forget this here. You can use the in-house ops manager proxy settings, and then the tile will pick that up too. So if you are like behind like a corporate red proxy and you just can't like get, you don't get unfettered internet access in your enterprise, like most enterprises, you can wire up a web proxy and ops manager, get your servers account and keys. The tile will pick that up and then, mitigate that or, work through that concern. So
yeah,
it's just a call out there as well. All right, so we've configured a model for 3090. It's going to advertise or pretend like it's GPT-3.5. It's actually going to be Llama 3, but our apps are going to think it's this, right? And it's going to run VLM. All right, so we can down-click that. We're going to add another model here. All right, I'm going to copy this. So this is going to be an embedding model, right? So we'll add this. This will be CPU, as we want to call the fast chat embeddings, again, because our some of our demo apps are written for that. And we're gonna go back from this here. So we're gonna pull Vicuna from Llamasys. This is one of our OG models we've been using. It's still pretty reliable, and it works great for fast chat embeddings and even just fast chat CPU too. So works out pretty well. No problem here. And we're gonna type here CPU VM type equals CPU, right? And AZ, I'll bump that up to 100. And then hit save.
So
we'll save
FastChat has specific implementation that works better for CPU, I'm guessing.
It has that, but for this, we're picking the embedding implementation is actually, picking the CPU card or model provider here because it's FastChat behind the scenes. And as of right now, this is what we have some of our demo apps written for, is that embedding support for FastChat. Like all of the the FastChats, the VLM, Ollama, they all have like a different embedding story, right? And they have different embedding models. We have like David Wu, who is on the show. I don't know, I can't remember what episode. He did a whole class on like building this whole RAG app on it. He was actually using an embedding model called Instructor XL. So it's kind of like up to the developer and what they want to pick. But again, this is also like an OpenAI official model public name, but we're going to go back to Vicuna. So I think too, we need to do some more testing with Ollama and build some more use cases around that. But they have some pretty good support around embeddings and functions and things too. So there's that as well. So that's kind of why they picked that here.
Yeah, a lot of good optionality though. That's probably the most important thing.
Yep. All right. So I think I saved that. CPU, disk, zone. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Well, I'm going to save it just one more time just to make sure. Okay. And then we'll add one more model. So let's do an Ollama model. And I believe I could just do Phi 3. So this is this little kind of small model from Microsoft. And I think I have the Ollama library up somewhere. Oh, it read my mind. So Ollama also has models hosted as well. And Phi 3 is kind of a lightweight, or almost what's been coined a SLM or small language model. And we'll give that a go and have that run on just pure CPU as well. So Phi 3, this will probably clean up a little bit too, because this is kind of redundant. I don't know if you can do the aliasing within Ollama like we can do the other ones. And we'll do CPU as well here. We'll save. Yeah, I'll just leave that. Yeah, I should have plenty of space. And run my lab out of space. So now we have 3 different models. They're all going to go deploy to 3 different workers. Let's see what else. Okay, let's talk about the integration tab real quick here. So if you wanted to, this is relatively new as well. If you wanted to, so we kind of have this whole GenAI proxy situation going on under the cover. So we're there's almost like a routing tier going on, and there's a broker, and the broker talks to the routing tier, hands out keys, and they map to the models behind the scenes. But now we have the ability to, if you wanted to, add a third party or external LLM or provider, like an Azure OpenAI or OpenAI, or I think this is we're starting the work here with this integration. I think a new tab here. We'll do integration too with the the VMware Private AI with NVIDIA too. So if you're building the big Private AI Foundation deployment, we can broker to that and call some of those models too. NVIDIA has their own models as well. Everybody's got models, so we're kind of trying to be the Switzerland here of models, or whatever, neutral. We love all models, and we can broker them. And if you want to run it on a Bosch and have that'd be great. If you want to just consume the SaaS, we can do that whole dev brokering experience and kind of guardrails and things with that as well. But that's just kind of I'm not going to set that up here because I don't have access to, or I don't want to pay per token to any of those public services right now. And I definitely don't have a Private AI Foundation in my home lab. But if someone wants to send me one, I would gladly accept it. But yes. Anywho, that's just a quick side note there.
That's where you draw the line, Nick.
Yeah. Yes. I think my marriage would also probably end too. I feel I took out a mortgage on the data center I'm building. What? Exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and click. I think we can go ahead and click install, apply changes here. So let's do that. And then while that bakes, we can talk through some other things. All right, so we're only gonna cook this tile. Go here. We're at time check 35 minutes. All right. And click apply. All right, so cool. Oh, sorry. Hopefully that you can see the screen. I saw the comments here. It's not too bad.
Yeah, you kept that. You were zooming in, so I think you were good.
Okay, perfect. All right, ready. All right, so that's cooking. It's gonna go through apply changes. 35 minutes. It may finish before we get here. May or may not. Let's just see here.
If you noticed, my son gave some comments on the chat room. So I told him he was trying to make fun of me. So I told him he's grounded, so he stopped.
It's all good.
But yeah, if anyone was wondering about Mr. Nolan Leong, that's my son trying to have fun with me.
Yes. Okay. Let's do a quick little shout out to the vGPU stuff. If I remember where. So I'm gonna go way back in the time machine. I have to find a foundation that I have set up for this TDC. So like 4 or 5. Right. So we're going back to time. We're going to 020 here. The different releases here, but this is what it looked like a few releases ago. If we go to the LLM worker, so you can see how we're splitting things out. But this is what that would have looked like. So you like the grid T4 16C, which I think was actually listed out here in the default config. Sorry, I guess I don't know what's going on there. Maybe I got a bug in there. I did just reinstall and apply it, so I don't know what's going on there. It's rolling. But anywho.
Yeah, that's what I was more used to, is that sort of configuration, and yes. Basically that's giving you just a preset set of options in terms of the CPU. Now you're able to customize. Basically.
Yes. Yeah. You're kind of locked into this thing, this kind of drop down before, and you get like this grid T4 16C. I think I could see that in the one that's not pushing here. Oh yeah, it's in here. Yeah, and it's in the, yeah. So we have that similar config here, so you could just select that if you wanted to use like a T4 in your vSphere environment. Obviously, if you have other ones like a V100, A100, you could add those too, just depending on what profile you want to use, and carve that up like maybe like A1. So an A100 is like 40 gig of VRAM or 80 gig, depending on what model. You can say give me a 20 gig and a just carve it up however you want, and like some of those sizings kind of dynamically change too based on the card. But what we wanted to kind of show here is that this NVIDIA license server. So like when we deploy via with a NVIDIA vGPU driver, it's going to talk to a license server, either like a SaaS NVIDIA cloud, like a public URL, or you can download a VM and run it internally, like a OVA from NVIDIA, and it's run that license server, and you kind of like download some licenses and register it with the main NVIDIA license server, and that becomes like that local call out here. So that that would be, this is I do have one running in the home lab, but they're just like older CPUs, and these are all like these tokens are local to my system, so it doesn't matter.
So that gives you some more features from the NVIDIA side to like CPU splitting and those types of things.
Yeah, so CPU splitting, like vMotion and things like that, right? Because like, so when you boot up a VM up on a pass-through, it gets pinned there, right? And it's like a 1-to-1 mapping. So if you have some of these larger cards, right, that's where you can start carving it up and say, all right, this model gets 10 gig, this model gets 10 gig, this model gets 20 gig. And then they like, if you need to do host event, like a vMotion or something, they all theoretically can vMotion over, assuming you have likewise capacity on another host. and kind of you could do that maintenance event without taking those VMs down.
Yep.
There's a client token you generate to kind of pass to the VM. We actually like recommend or kind of require that you like based on like licensing, you need to go. You're getting this license key already in this server, but you actually need to get the appropriate software VIBs and drivers. So you load a VIB on the ESXi host, which is like an add-on to the core vSphere, and you need a matching driver for Ubuntu. So I'm hosting it on just an internal like web server in my lab. And we're going to pull that down, and as each VM gets booted up, we'll pull down that driver because we can't ship that driver. It's NVIDIA's third party type of thing, and then we just provide a SHA sum of the driver just to make sure we're pulling the right file and it's secure type of thing. So that's kind of the additional things that you would see in this screen here, but obviously we're not doing that.
So instead, if it needs some sort of GPU driver that's not commercially licensed, they would just kind of pull down the open source driver for that.
Okay. Yeah. So like there's a variant of the NVIDIA driver that is like NVIDIA Open, which is like it's not the you don't need a special license or anything to run it on, that type of thing.
Yep.
But it does come with caveats, as in you can't do the whole virtual GPUs and things of that nature.
Yeah. Right.
Alrighty, infrastructure config. All right, so we kind of covered that. Let's see, we're cooking here. So let's go ahead and just kind of get to what it looks like here, and we'll this probably won't finish before the end of our live stream, just because things do take time. Let's see. So I can go to the one that's on 030. We can kind of explore some new functionality here. All right. Oh, where did I put this password? It's a question of the day. Let's see. I have somewhere. Here we go. I need to just like generate SSO. Like I got too many.
That's your next homework project is SSO.
Yeah. Oh, that was the wrong. No, I was just kidding. That's not right. Yeah, this is the right one. Yay. Apps Manager. Okay. All right, so samples. Here we go. So I got some sample apps. Hooray. We'll go in the demo here. And here's a new sample app that we want to kind of call out. Relatively new. Some folks from our Tanzu PVE team kind of reached out, and they were kind of working on this thing called Open Web UI, which is kind of like in the open source GenAI community type of thing, and they're trying to get it to work on the tile. And then I kind of got Long involved too, and we got it in our sample apps now, where we can just push, like, do a native CF push here as well. So you don't have to worry about any kind of Docker containers or anything like that. So let's go into here and see what that app is. Routes. All right, so this is kind of cool. I think this is going to become our new like Hello World demo app type of thing. But this is, this interface is pretty nice, where it's just kind of like an open chat. Here we're going to select GPT-3.5 Turbo, but it's really that one of those Llama models behind the scenes. And, you can just, tell me a story about Foundry. I don't know, who knows? Probably be Llama 3 is kind of chatty, so it'll probably be pretty funny.
It's pretty long.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
What's the most creative prompt you've heard of for AI in your time?
Creative prompt. Well, so I guess so there are ways to do, like, within this Open Web UI, like there's like a little community where you can download prompts and things, and like to like Some of the things are like pretend you're a pirate and answer everything that like you're like a, you know, because like you could prompt the model and then it will then like you send it the question, then it'll be like arg, I don't know, like pretend it's a pirate type of thing. So like there's things like that which are pretty funny. But I don't know, it just I can't even read all this, but yes, the founders of Foundry, led by a charismatic CEO named Derek, had a bold vision. They wanted to create a platform that allowed developers to focus on writing great code rather than worrying about the underlying infrastructure. Wow, I mean, this is
there we go.
There's some key highlights here. Believe that providing a robust and scalable platform that can empower developers to build the next generation applications that would revolutionize the way people lived and worked.
Man, Hollywood, here we come.
Yeah. The team at Foundry worked tirelessly to bring their vision to life. They built a platform that was designed to be highly scalable, secure, and easy to use. They called it Cloud Foundry. Cloud Foundry was a game changer. Wow.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, whew.
Dobbs 6651 is asking you to ask it how to install the GenAI tile.
Well,
I don't know if we have enough on the internet for that.
Yeah. So, yeah, this thing, they all have training dates, and they definitely haven't been trained on our docs, I don't think yet.
Cutting edge stuff. Yeah.
But that is pretty you know, Inception meta type of thing. Or maybe we could then provide it like an embedding. I haven't figured out, like, you can do embeddings in this thing too, where you can just like upload docs, and then we haven't figured out how to wire that up yet. It's still relatively new, but I'm, you know, that would be cool too, where you could just, you know, wire this up to like an SSO and like have a bunch of different users on this thing type of thing. So interesting times to play with this kind of open web UI. But
I like my favorite is the rap battle example. So so, you know, compare two things and format it like a rap battle.
Yeah.
I was car shopping and I did that, and it was just hilarious what it came up with.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this is going to be kind of our new demo app, and just, you know, you could easily cycle through your models you have bound to the application. So I've got DeepSeek Coder out here too, which is like say write me Python application, let's say a Flask. Show me how to deploy it to Cloud Foundry. And then, so there you kind of get that like inline code as well in here. So, you know, it's kind of nice to do that, and, you know.
So this is really quick, Nick. What's behind this one that you're running?
So these are both each one of these models in this environment is behind a 3090 Ti.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm running VLM.
Okay.
Yeah.
So quick, pretty good hardware behind, and
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, good relative to Nick's budget type of thing. But yeah, it's not a $60,000 H100 by any means of the imagination. But I can only imagine how it would run on one of those things. But yeah. So I guess if you, on a side note, if you want to do this in your home lab, the 3090 route, it seems to be a really good price, like in just general AI shenanigans. You know, you can pick some, you know, used off eBay. If you live near a Micro Center, I think they still have they got a big batch of them refurb direct from NVIDIA. So they're basically like brand new, like around $600-ish. So if you're looking for something to play around with, it's really hard to beat that price.
And then how does this app know about those different models that you have up there in the drop down? Is it just based off of the app and the bindings that it has attached to it?
Yes. So good question here. So we did do the service binding here. Sorry, I've kind of skipped a lot of the dev flow because we've done this so many times. But we bound the GenAI service to this app, and then it has. Let me go to our repo here. Blow this up. Thanks to Long for submitting this up to the repo here. But in here, there's some code to parse VCAP services, right? And this is where we're sending the credentials for the API base and key from the service. So like, we're running this OpenAI kind of proxy in front of all these models that we've deployed, and then this is how you access it, and then that gets injected into the app, and via all the Cloud Foundry server binding magic, and here we go. Here you can see here in the settings here, admin maybe. All right, you can see connections where it's it's pulled this API. It's got this credential that just wired up based on environment variables and the VCAP services.
Yep.
And then it knew to say, hey, let's go investigate this URL models to get a listing of all the models that are available. It's basically doing a authenticated curl.
Yep.
And then that is how. Where do I go back here? Where's my little chat? Well, that's how these models get populated. It's like, oh, I see these models available. I know what these are. I know how to parse them, type of thing, right?
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of the story behind the scenes there. Yeah, I would personally do a lot more just kind of building out with this application. Like, can we wire it up into our PG vector Postgres database for embeddings, and then can I upload a bunch of documents and then that, or can it also uses Postgres, or can also use Postgres for the user auth and history of the chat. So multiple use cases for our Postgres tile. Just kind of see where we can get with it, and maybe even wire it up into the SSO tile. But that's time. We'll get there one day, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess do want a quick call out to you. So if you haven't seen marketplace, our Postgres tile, we're using this a lot with the vector DB stuff. So we use it with done the spring music Taylor Swift demo a lot. So that's great for that. But if you just general embeddings, it's very easy to wire that up as well. And they kind of go hand in hand together here. Typically we don't really do a POC or beta launch without the two together, I guess, unless you want to use some external Postgres or whatever. But
so in
it's
theory,
it's so easy on the platform. Just click, get a Postgres.
That's right? It. Yeah. And I suppose if you wanted to embed the GenAI documentation for installing, you could do that in theory.
Yes, we could.
We can have that prompt work.
Yeah. We would use that as the vector store, and then and do that.
We have a question here from Dobbs again. TPU hardware, asking about TPU hardware. Will it work with?
So that's the short answer is no. I guess maybe the longer answer is some of that. I don't know if vSphere supports TPUs. On the vSphere side, no, I don't know really. We haven't really investigated trying to get a TPU situation in a public cloud. But I think maybe, obviously, down the road, if alternative accelerator cards or TPUs, or I don't know, maybe Broadcom, we make a bunch of custom ASICs for these hyperscalers. Maybe we'll make one for the general purpose and in general purpose hardware. I don't know, but that would be cool. But I think that's just more of a. I've got no idea if anyone's building that type of thing, but it'd be cool to see one day. But theoretically, maybe if the clouds align and the underlying IaaS supports it, then maybe. But right now, it's mostly CPUs and NVIDIA GPUs.
Now, I'm not versed on a lot of these things. So TPU, is that tensor? Is that?
That's a good question. I believe it stands for Tensor Processing Unit.
Yeah. So the sort of
I could be wrong.
The Google AI processor, I guess.
What is a TPU? Well, all right, we were right according to our large language model. All right. Oh yeah. Ooh, wow, that's getting. You can just replace me with this model, Tim, and then. Yeah. So hey, we got.
I don't have time to read all that though. So.
Yeah. So just a TLDR, TPU is the Tensor Processing Unit, and first introduced by Google in 2016.
Yeah. It's the thing in my Pixel phone. So.
Anyway, okay. So we questions. All right. How do we see? Whoa, one more thing I wanted to call out here. We got 5 minutes left, but I kind of wanted to do a prelude or a tease of next show. So we just had a new report completed by the Enterprise Strategy Group, and they interviewed VMware Tanzu customers and things of that nature. And we got a pretty good economic benefits analysts come back about, I guess the tagline is, after our switch to Tanzu platform for Cloud Foundry, we have streamlined operations to the point of seeing a 300% acceleration in the time from idea to the capabilities of being available to our customers. Now, this report's jam-packed with a lot of info. Next week, we're going to have Mia Villarreal come on the show, and she was kind of leading this effort here within Tanzu here, but we're going to deep dive that. And kind of want to bring this up because internally, we get a lot of questions, but even from customers where maybe more so of like, hey, you've been running this platform thing for a while, but maybe you have like a new manager or a new boss's boss or new VP or whatever, and they don't really realize all the great success that you've done within your organization. So maybe we have a third party that has done a study with our customers to help maybe remind some folks or just give some I guess documentation and literature validation of what you've seen within your own organization, just in case you need it in terms of you always need to have something to make sure you can justify what you're doing, type of thing. And hopefully this will be pretty useful for you all. So yeah, we'll keep forward to next week. We'll have a complete deep dive onto that. This is way more than a 5-minute topic conversation, but
that's going to be huge.
Yeah, so, I wanted to tease that out there for folks.
Really looking forward to that. I haven't even seen it yet, but definitely looking forward to digging in on that. It has been a number of years since we've done this before, so an updated report is going to be awesome.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think we're getting close to the end of the show here. I thank you for all the live viewers and listeners. Thanks for the questions. We greatly appreciate that. Obviously, if you have time or would like to, give a shout out. Like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast on every podcast device possible, or if you have 20 YouTube accounts, all subscribe to our channel, or like that. All kind of helps the show. Also follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter as well. But just if you have some accounts out there, you're going to give us a follow or a like, that is appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I guess without, do you have any final thoughts, Tim, or anything you want to leave the audience? Thank you for coming on the show this week.
I appreciate you going through it. And, I think this topic is always evolving, so it's always educational for me, and listening to you go through it is always a great experience. So looking forward to what's coming next.
All right, yeah, and then Dobbs, we might have a new tagline here: Bosch D Cloud Foundry weekly and stream. So I guess we'll still do a countdown, a 3, 2, 1 to CF by, and then I guess we'll end the show. But we'll have to see if Nikki approves that one, Dobbs. But I like it.
Yeah,
I can't make any massive show changes while Nikki's out. But
no executive decisions to be
exactly made. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll do a 3, 2, 1 CF by.